Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in 2 minutes.
देखती हूँ उनको बोल Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
I'm Dr. Ujjwala Bendale, Dean, Faculty of Law.
Good to meet
I,
you.
on behalf of Bharati Vidyapeeth, Deemed University and New Law College, I welcome you to this program. And we would be soon in 2 minutes begin with all the particular this. And I'm so eager to hear you.
Thank you so much. Eager to connect with everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Janvi?
Ma'am, if you allow, should I start?
Yes, please start.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone present here. Wishing you all a very happy new year. I, Sakshi Wadhwani, on behalf of Bharati Vidyapeeth, Team to be University, New Law College, Pune, welcomes you all in the virtual seminar hosted by Equal Opportunity Center. Bharati Vidyapeeth, Team to be University, New Law College, Pune is one of the premier institutes imparting legal education in the country. The college has secured second rank by Education Post Magazine 2022, fifth rank by Outlook 2022, 11th rank by India Today, third rank by the CSR magazine, and has consistently been ranked among the top law schools in the country. The institute has been re-accredited with A+ grade by NAC in 2017, received Category 1 status by UGC, and has also been ranked 76th by NIRF. I'm quite sure that you would be glad to see our institute's growth in leaps and bounds throughout these years. Bharati Vidyapeeth Team to be University is also re-accredited with A+ grade by NAC third cycle in 2017. Moving forward, let me introduce one of the strongest pillars of our college. She is academically strong as well as administrator of our college is handled by her, being Dean and in charge principal of Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University, New Law College, Pune. She has publication in various national and international journals. With all due respect, I welcome Dr. Ujjwala Bendale ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, On behalf of Bharati Vidyapeeth deemed to be University, New Law College, I wholeheartedly welcome Anita Iyer, Narayan Madam, and I really express my gratitude towards Madam for gracing this occasion today and willing to enlighten us on disabilities and the rights of disabilities. And of course, we are so eager to hear, Madam, that without much ado, I would request Sakshi to please go ahead and request Ma'am to carry forward the lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Disability is an impairment that may be cognitive, development, intellectual, activity, limitations, sensory, or some combination of these. It substantially affects a person's life's activities and may be present from birth or occur during a person's lifetime. Disability is a contested concept with different meanings of different communities. It may be used to refer to physical or mental attributes that some institutions, particularly medicine, view as needing to be fixed. It may refer to limitation imposed on people by the constraints of an artless society. Equal Opportunity Center, a center which is established by Bharati Vidyapeeth, deemed to be University, New Law College, Pune, to provide and arrange various counseling, support, and awareness programs. The major aim of this center would be to oversee the effective implementation of policies and programs for the disadvantaged groups, to provide guidance and counseling with respect to financial, social, and other matters, and to enhance the diversity within the campus. This center shall also actively indulge in the organization of various seminars, webinars, especially for the disadvantaged groups at national and international level, enhancing thereby the ambit of its working. And now, I am honored to introduce such an inspiring personality who has not only volunteered with NGOs around the country, but also worked with people with different disabilities. With degrees in law and psychology, sociology, her prime focus is an inclusive society where people with disabilities are empowered. She is a trained and experienced auditor of built spaces empaneled with the Government of India under the Accessible India campaign as auditor and trainer. She has conducted several seminars and workshops for government and municipal officials from different parts of Maharashtra. Let's not forget to mention she has worked extensively and holistically for accessibility, integrated education and employment, adaptive clothing, inclusive play spaces, etc. Her experiences contribute immensely to her understanding of diversity. She founded Akash Trust in 2009 and works personally on every project from concept to conclusion. Let's welcome Shri Anita Narayan Iyer to address the cognitive.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sakshi, thank you for the wonderful introduction. Dr. Ujjwala, thank you for the introduction also, and thank you for having me on this program. I need to thank Professor Aman for inviting me for this talk. Thank you all for having me here. My name is Anita Iyer. I run an NGO called Akash Trust in Pune, like Sakshi just told you. Ek Ansh in Hindi and Ek Ansham in Sanskrit. Ansh means a part. And I honestly believe that each of us is a part of the universe. And they say Aham Brahmasmi in India, which means that you are he, right? You are the person who can make a difference. So if each of us is a part of the whole, and if the whole has to be bigger than the sum of its parts, it means that each of us has to contribute into making the world whole. When we say making the world whole, it means a holistic working towards inclusivity. If you leave one part out, it is incomplete. So in order to make the world complete, each of us has to contribute in a wholesome way and ensure that people with and without disabilities live together, people of all genders, of all ability, absolutely everything. The whole ecosystem has to work together to make the world and the universe a wholesome place. Now, this is all pravachan, but going on from here, let's talk about how each of us can actually contribute. Now, I like for all of my sessions to be as interactive as possible. So whether it is Ujjwala ji, or it is Dr. Aman, or it is Sakshi, or every Siddhant, I can see some names here. Everyone who's a part of this, I want you all to ask questions, give some answers, because it should not be a monologue. Although it is a seminar and you asked me to speak, my speech will not be complete without your cooperation and your inputs, because I do not know how much you know, and I do not know how much I have to tell you, therefore, right? So the first thing that I would like to share with you is that in 2016, the government of India has acknowledged 21 different disabilities and conditions leading to disability. So when we first start talking about disabilities, we think there are 4 types. And that is actually true. When you talk about disabilities, there are 4 kinds of disabilities, 4 faculties of the human body that are disrupted in some way because of a disability. You're unable to use those faculties to the extent that you should be able to normally. Normal being a bad word, politically incorrect word, but what we mean is to the full extent of capacity. So the 4 main disabilities are to do with vision, to not be able to see properly or not be able to see at all. The second would be to hear and to speak. Can somebody please turn on captions if you have this on your Zoom? Please turn on captions. Why do we have captions? So that people who are hearing impaired in some way can read, or if they are not able to understand the way in which I speak or my accent, they will still be able to read captions. Please see if you can turn this on, or eventually when you put it on YouTube, the video, make sure that you choose captioning so that people who are hearing impaired can also read. All right. People who are language impaired or who cannot understand what I'm saying will also be able to read captions. And you can turn on these captions on YouTube in multiple languages. Why am I telling you this? Because this is assistive technology meant for persons with disability, and it is their legal right. Everybody is entitled to listen to me speaking now, to listen to you speaking, to understand you. So when we talk about rights and equal opportunity, do people even have equal opportunity to listen to this conference or seminar as it goes on? So turn on the subtitles when you eventually put up the video on YouTube, turn on the subtitling in different languages, right? So there is vision, there is hearing and speech, there is intellect, that is a mind, and there is physical disability or mobility challenges. So these are the 4 main faculties that are impacted by any disability. Now, even obesity is a disability, but it is not listed by the government of India. I'm going to very quickly take you through the list of 21 disabilities so that there is some context to what we are talking about today. So I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to take you through this extremely quickly. Yeah. So can you see this blue square here? So this blue square represents the 4 different disabilities that are the major disabilities, where there is mobility represented by the wheelchair. There is intellectual disability represented by the brain, the picture of the brain, and there is hearing and speech, which is represented by the hands like this, which means interpretation, right? Interpreter, this is how you say interpreter. And the 4th is a person carrying the cane, which represents a person with visual impairment. So very quickly, blind and low vision is one. I'm just going to go through these slides very quickly. There is deafness. Now, acid attack victims or survivors, like we like to call them, are also included because sometimes because of acid attack, the different faculties can be impacted, like the vision can be impacted, the hearing can be impacted, the skin gets completely burnt. Therefore, there is definitely anguish and mental stress and lack of self-image, and all of this and self-esteem happens because of acid attack, which is exactly the purpose of the acid attack. Why does somebody attack a girl with acid? Typically, it's girls who fall victim of acid attacks. And why? Basically, so that they can mess with their minds. You think you're beautiful, here you go. So to mess with the mind of a person is when an acid attack actually happens. You're hurting the ego, the mind, the stability of the person, mental stability of the person. And mobility can also be impaired if everything gets fused and they're not able to turn their necks or their arms. Mobility is impaired. So acid victims have been included. Leprosy cured, again, this impacts sensation in the skin, and it can also lead to disfigurement of the face and the body. It can also impact vision, etc. Therefore, this has been included. There's hemophilia, where blood does not clot. And because of this, the bones and joints can be damaged. Thalassemia, again, this is a blood-related condition which can lead to different disabilities. You can see the general signs, you can read it up. I hope that all of you will go and read the list of 21 disabilities which have been acknowledged by the Government of India after this seminar, after this talk is over. Sickle cell disease. There is deaf blindness, where a person is deaf as well as blind. If you watch the movie Black, you will know what we're talking about. They may not be completely deaf or completely blind, but their vision and hearing is impacted by the disability. Autism spectrum, it is called a spectrum disorder because there's an entire range of symptoms. There could be people who have autism to a mild degree, to a moderate degree, or to a severe degree. Now, autism is a spectrum because it involves many different faculties being impacted. Some people don't speak, they can be non-verbal. Some people will be unable to learn. There are some people who are savants, which means that they're excellent, they're brilliant at maths, or they're brilliant at painting, their memories are very sharp. So there is an entire range, which is why it is called a spectrum disorder. The main thing that is impacted by autism, of course, is social interaction and communication. Most often, that is what is hit for people with autism. Intellectual disability, which means that you're unable to understand, express, behave the way that is considered ideal, right? So also the development of the brain is not at the speed at which it should be. Mental illness is where there could be frustration, anxiety, fear, stress, mood swings. Now, again, just because you didn't get tickets for Pathan, you could be in a bad mood, but that does not make you somebody with a mental illness. But if you've been feeling under the weather for a very long time, and it has impacted you to such an extent that you don't want to bathe, you don't want to go out, you don't meet your friends, you don't want to eat, you're lying down all the time, your hygiene is hit, your laughter is hit, you haven't laughed in the longest time, you've not felt like meeting anybody, and you think that it is going on for an abnormally long time. Sometimes on Sunday, we just want to shut the door and take a break from the world. That's fine. But if it has been 4 Sundays, 5 Sundays, and 5 weeks, and you haven't met anybody and you don't feel like it either, then you're not a recluse. You need to meet somebody who can help you out. Yeah. So this is mental illness. Specific learning disabilities. If you're not great at maths, it doesn't mean that you have a specific learning disability, but if you're unable to learn in spite of several efforts, if language is a problem, if you find it difficult to read and write, you must have watched Tare Zameen Par, so you know what dyslexia is. You feel like the letters are dancing, or B and D look the same to you, small b and small d. Now, there is a way to deal with this. If you use a different kind of a font, you will be able to read better. So there are remedies to all of this, which are not medical necessarily. There are remedies to all of these disabilities if applied well. I'm talking about specific learning disabilities. Dysgraphia, language and poor spacing. Some students will write as if their letters are flying in the air. They will never follow the lines on the page. So that is dysgraphia. Auditory processing, like I said, where are the sounds coming from? So the bell is ringing on this side, you're answering the door on the other side. Things like this can also impact your learning. Every child that cannot learn is not necessarily stupid, like we would like to say. There might be something that has not been attended to. With a little bit of attention, we can change things around for so many different people, and it is happening now. Cerebral palsy again comes because of some impact to the head, either before, during, or after pregnancy, during birth. It can affect the mobility. It could affect mobility and the mind, or it could affect mobility partially, or a person could be fully paralyzed. There are people with cerebral palsy who've gone on to do their postgraduate degrees, who are very good speakers, very highly intelligent. There are also people with cerebral palsy whose minds have been impacted because of the hurt that has been caused to either to the fetus or to the newborn baby. Now, in every disability, you will find mild, moderate, and extreme, right? Or severe. Just like a flu, right? You have a slight cold, or you have a moderate cold where you need to take an aspirin, or then you have a very severe cold where you need to lie down and have a hot water bag. So disabilities are the same. So they could be mild, moderate, or severe. Muscular dystrophy, as the name suggests, the muscles this is a progressive disorder, which means it keeps on increasing and the muscles keep becoming very weak. I'm quickly taking you through this. Neurological conditions where the nerves are impacted and the spinal cord is impacted. So you can see here epileptic fits, craniofacial abnormalities, hydrocephalus, where the fluid in the head does not drain as it should drain. It drains in all our bodies, but it does not drain in some people, and the fluid collects and it pushes down on the brain, on the eyes. So the child can lose vision, the child can lose mobility. They put a shunt at the back of the head through which the fluid can be drained. In some children, this condition can be reversed. In some children, it cannot. The damage that is done cannot be reversed. Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disorder in which this immune system itself eats away the protective covering of the nerve. So it's neurological. Parkinson's disease, you must have seen a lot of older people who can't hold their heads. They will keep moving like this. There's a lot of tremor in their body. So they can't hold things. They can't eat. They can't drink. It impacts their self-esteem, self-image, their confidence levels. They may also fall often. This comes typically with old age, but there are also middle-aged people with Parkinson's. Dwarfism is another one. Why is dwarfism a disability? Because we will not be able to reach, getting into the bus, getting out of the bus, accessing the bolt in the public toilets is a huge problem. When you talk about rights, which we will be coming to soon, we will realize how these rights are impacted. Many people with dwarfism don't even visit the toilets, public toilets, because every time they have to tell somebody else to wait outside and go in. Now you'll say, why are we talking about toilets? Isn't that the first thing we do when we wake up every day? Go into the bathroom, brush our teeth, use the toilet. And if you can't even bolt the toilet because the tower bolts are on top, and you're not able to reach them, or that the wash basin is kept in such a position and the mirrors are so high that you can't see your face, what are the rights that are impacted? We think that rights generally mean, right to education, right to employment, right to life. What is the meaning of life? First thing you do when you wake up in the morning is to wash your face, brush your teeth, use the toilet. And if you can't do that comfortably without taking somebody else's help, there your human right is impacted. Human right to life. Life is not just to live. It's not just to exist. It is to live your life to the fullest. So locomotor disability, where movement of any part of the body, it could be just the neck or the shoulders or the hands, the joints of the hands, or your arms, legs, any part of the body that should move in a certain way and you're not able to do it, there is a disability, right? Speech and language disability, again, to be able to understand language and to use language the way it should be used. Like we say, some people are totla, wo totla hai, to say Happy New Year, or they will talk like small children. Their fluency is not correct. They cannot rhyme. They don't understand rhymes. They will not understand meter. They don't know how to speak. Their intonations are hit where the question and the answer sound the same. Are you coming to my house? That's a question. They will say, are you coming to my house? Is it a question or an answer? So intonations, all of this is impacted when it comes to speech and language disability. Poor voice quality, loud or soft voices, right? So this is the first set of slides that I wanted to show you. Now, I would like to hear from at least one of you and tell me if you knew about this list already. Sakshi, did you know about this list?
No, ma'am, I knew for a few of them, the problem of speaking. I knew of that disability, but I didn't know so many disabilities.
Right. So this is where you begin. So when we are talking about equal opportunity, unless you know what you're talking about in terms of disability, you will not be able to use your brain holistically. So now I hope you can go back and relate to what I said at the beginning, that pravachan that I gave you. So ek ansh, holistically samajhna, treating the world as a whole. Why did I say that? Unless you have this complete understanding of when somebody comes to you and says, hey, listen, like I come to you and say, Sakshi, I'm not able to walk. This airport is too large. Like in Delhi airport, it is too large. I'm not using a wheelchair, but I have asthma. Okay. And if I have to walk that entire stretch of Delhi airport, please, can you give me a buggy? Immediately tell me, but what is wrong with you? You look fine. But by the time I get to the end of that airport, I'm going to be wheezing. I may not have the wheezing now, but if I have to run and if I'm late for my flight and I have to run from one terminal to the other or one end to the one gate to the other, I'm going to be wheezing by the time I get there. So my mobility is impacted. So when you say mobility impairment, I don't necessarily have to have a leg missing or some paralysis or something wrong. I could be pregnant. I could be 8 or 9. I'm 55, I can't, but I could be 8 or 9 months pregnant. I have a mobility problem. That means to move is a difficulty for me. I could be somebody who has a heart problem. I just had a heart surgery and therefore I can't walk the distance. I could be somebody who's very obese. I'm very fat. I weigh 100 kilos. I can't walk that stretch. So it is not, you don't judge a person when they tell you that they have a disability. You actually check to see whether, yes, at the end of that movement, is there a mobility challenge actually that this person has, and can we help that person in some way? It could be any disease. It could be a new surgery where a person requires help to get from point A to point B. It's not just footpaths. I'm even talking about a sophisticated place like an airport, which is fully equipped. We literally have to explain to them saying, Mujhe dama hai. Now I'm not carrying my medical certificate, but when I'm telling you that I can't walk, it's not something that I'm proud of. but I definitely need some support. So when you talk about right to life, all of this comes under that. So first, you have to look at all the human rights that are recognized around the world by the United Nations, our government, and us as human beings, and then look at how these rights are applied to persons with different disabilities. And now you know the entire gamut. Again, I don't believe that this list is complete because they have not listed asthma, they have not listed heart disease, they have not listed psoriasis, they have not listed obesity. There are a lot of conditions that could lead to different disabilities which are not listed. I don't believe that this list should exist. I also believe that there are only 4 disabilities. This is what my legal mind tells me. There are 4. Like I told you, my obesity can impact my mobility. Why is it not listed? Anything can impact your mobility, right? You could be having severe cramps, menstrual cramps. You can't walk today. What are you going to do? Is that not a disability, temporary disability on that day? Right? So there could be a temporary disability that leads to a lack of mobility. All of these things need to be recognized and spoken about. Right? Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This is more in keeping. This is the one that I made for today for all of you. So here we go. So this is who I am, so that you have a small introduction to me. I'm a consultant for diversity, inclusion, and accessibility for a lot of corporates. I'm an access auditor and a trainer with the Government of India for accessibility, founder and managing trustee of Ekans Trust. And there's my number. You can, if you ever want to consult, you can get in touch with me, but your college already has my number. So if we talk about equal opportunity, now, since we are all, this is the law department, this is how we should actually look at disability. So we talk about reality, and this is how it looks, where a person who is discriminated against actually has no access to the place at all. A person who has the money and the power actually gets access to absolutely everything. Then we talk about equality, where we give everybody the same platform and say, chalo, all of you will give the same exams, all of you will have the same opportunities. And when we say equal opportunity is sometimes not enough. It's like, okay, we have, अच्छा आपके यहाँ toilet है, gents toilet है, तो वही ladies के लिए भी available करवा दो. वो equal नहीं है. Equity means everybody gets the support that they need. What women need in a washroom is different than what men need. Or you should have, if you're talking about equality, you have a unisex, gender neutral toilet where men and women can go together, and people of other genders. We can't live in the binary anymore. Also, when it comes to disability, persons with disability should be able to go. The new thing in the public spaces is family toilets, where if I have an adult child with a disability of another gender, I should be able to take him, I should be able to take my son to the bathroom if he needs any support because of a disability. Tomorrow, when I am a senior citizen, if my son needs to help me in the toilet with my adult diaper, or to help me use the toilet facilities, he should be able to accompany me without anybody raising eyebrows. If I need to take my father or my father-in-law, I should be able to do that. What we have now is individual toilets. We also have family toilets coming up in a lot of places, including airports, where a person of a certain gender can take somebody of another gender in if that person needs assistance. These are all things that we should think of. The tiniest of facilities that we need are not discussed, because I say this in every seminar of mine. Somehow, as people, we are ashamed of the wrong things. We should be ashamed of not being able to provide the facilities that are needed, not about talking about the facilities that are needed. Most often, we are ashamed about talking about things that are everyday needs, everyday functions of the body. Why are we ashamed of them? Why are we not ashamed of not being able to provide for these basic necessities that people have? So when we talk about universal design, somehow there is a feeling that, we should be talking only about architecture or websites or, offices and railway stations. Universal design is anything that is designed by a human being, including your syllabus. I'm very happy that Bharatiya Vidyapeeth is doing this. I should have said this at the outset, that you are introducing an equal opportunity cell and that you're planning to do so much work. And I hope to be a part of much of the work that you do. Please feel free to get in touch with me, because I'm really, really feeling reassured today by the work that you're doing. Everything that we design, absolutely everything, including syllabus, including books, movies, everything that we design has to be universal and include as many people as possible. There should not be a certain section of people that is left out by design or by omission. So we have to have a checklist with us at all points of time to see whether everything that we're talking about is universal or not. For example, we say human rights. Then you have one separate women's rights. Then you have one separate rights of person with disability. Why? Once you have said human rights, we are all human. When you say human resources, it is human resources. Then why do you have a diversity and inclusion team? Why are we still having an equal opportunity team? Once we have said that this college is open to all, it should be open to all. We are still striving to create that equity that we talked about in the previous slide. So whether it is attitudes, information, infrastructure, product design, equipment, recreation, education, employment, legal aid, medical aid, insurance. Insurance is now becoming accessible for persons with disabilities. It wasn't earlier. Media, all of this has to be inclusive. So whether it is a person who's designing it, or a person who's using it, or a person who's conceptualizing it, the teams have to consist of people from all walks of life with all kinds of abilities, disabilities, genders, ages, etc. Now that I'm 55, suddenly I've started feeling as if I'm obsolete, which is not fair considering the amount of work that a person has done. So there is ageism, there is sexism, there is ableism, there are a whole lot of isms, not just racism. Racism, exists in many, many different ways. So age, gender, ability, people are discriminating on different counts. So there are 4 phases. If you look at Hinduism, we talk about the 4 phases in a person's life. That is actually true of all faiths and all human beings. We begin with childhood. Unfortunately, if I ask okay, let's begin with this. Can I speak to Prachi? Do you have a microphone? I'm just going by the names that I have on my screen. If any of you has a microphone, can you tell me what your best memories from your childhood are, please? Any one person, can you just go up and tell me on your mic? Sakshi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Can you tell me what is your best memory from your childhood, representing all your friends?
Yes, I do have one best memory. I was, I think, 4 years old, and my brother was not well, and I was not in a. I was very little, so I was not in a condition to help him out, and he was not able to speak at that moment. So I went to my mother, and I did this kissing her thing, and she fell down because of it because she was really asleep. And I was that's not one of the best memory, but it's just that there are only 2-3 memories I remember from my childhood.
Okay.
I don't remember much about my childhood.
Okay, no, but what did you enjoy doing as a child? Did you enjoy going to the park and playing? Did you enjoy going to the beach?
I used to go for drawing classes, so I used to enjoy that.
Okay. Did you go to the park to play ever? Jhule pe baithe?
No. Not like when I was kid.
Prachi, have you sat on the jhula growing up? I don't know. Some people are switching on and off. Anyone else? Let me ask. Whom should I ask? Dr. Ujjwala, have you played on the swing as a child? Is she there? I would like someone else to answer as well, other than Sakshi, unless she's the only person.
Yes, ma'am. I used to enjoy.
So what was it that you enjoyed the most, Rachna Joshi? What is the thing that you enjoyed most in the park?
I playing hide and seek with my friends, riding on swing, different slides, the one.
Right. Have you ever seen a child with a disability in the park?
Not that I remember.
Does anybody remember seeing a child on a wheelchair in a park?
Ma'am.
Yeah, Ujjwala ji.
Yes, ma'am. I have seen children with disabilities, and I have witnessed their sufferings. And unfortunately, for last 15-20 years, I have seen a girl child having this sort of disabilities.
right?
Yeah.
So my
yes,
question basically was: Have you played with anyone in a disability in a park on a swing?
With that particular girl child, I had been to 2-3 parks, but she was the one who never enjoyed like that in social gatherings, playing like that.
Okay.
But she was always constrained, and she never
Mm.
used to like in public places. But yes, if I could make her sit in my house swings and all, she used to enjoy it on her own.
Okay.
Means she never used to want me to support her for taking the swing. She used to take on her own.
Okay. Uh, 1 second. So what I actually wanted to share with you was something that we have done. We've actually set up in Pune. We have actually set up swings on which wheelchairs can go, merry-go-rounds on which wheelchairs can go. There are swings on which children with cerebral palsy who don't have body balance can sit. It is tilted to one side so that when they sit, it swings like this. They can put a seatbelt on and sit. The whole point that I'm trying to make here is when we talk about human rights, it begins from childhood. It does not begin at college level or at school level. It begins at play level, from home. Communication with a child that cannot hear, communication with the mother for a child who cannot speak, communication at home, cracking jokes, knowing the local gossip, small things. अरे उसके बारे में पता है that girl got 20 marks and this one got only 18 marks. Did you hear that? This is chota chota gossip. Did you hear that person got thrown out of school because he copied from a person's notebook? Small things like this are also left out of the life of a person who's hearing impaired because it is never discussed. Basically, parents will ask that child, Khaya, soya, theek hai, over, you like, nice, not nice, that's it. Where are all the conversations going about, I'm late for office? You must not tell lies. You must be loyal. You must be committed. All these things that your parents told you, which irritated you, which I irritate my daughter with, those kids have never heard. So typically, when you find people who are deaf, you will find that they are the ones who will quit the jobs the fastest. They will act as if they are not committed to anything. They will not believe you. They will tell lies. You will say that, oh, the people who are deaf are the most difficult to deal with. I know they are. 15 years I have worked with them. First people to quit in a job will be them. If we are sitting and laughing somewhere, they will think we are laughing at them. Lack of self-esteem. So a whole lot of things come from the lack of communication. So the first right that we have is also, when we say right to life, it begins with communication. If I can't wake up in the morning and say good morning to somebody freely, if I'm not able to begin like now, I was for 5 minutes, I was feeling left out. I didn't know whether Rachana was online, Dr. Ujwala was online. I couldn't see anybody. If I were to mute myself for 2 minutes and continue to move my mouth, you would know how it feels to be a deaf person. Where there is no sound coming, the whole world is communicating. I'm not a part of it. So to learn how to communicate with people who are deaf, like right of language, what is the right of language? Not that I should have it, but that I should be understood. It could be anything that I use. And we are all capable of learning sign language. We just act like we don't know. Because if I were to say this on the cricket field, what would you think it means? Sakshi, what is this in cricket? What is this in cricket? Any of you? What is this in cricket? This is out? This is sign language. No. When I do this is not sign language also. I'm saying yes. I'm saying no. So you've understood. So I can make out from your face, oh, she's understood. This is all part of speaking without words. And 70% of our communication is there, at least. Much more than that, but at least 70% of our communication is actually non-verbal, but we don't use it when we are talking to people who are deaf because we think, oh, we have to learn a specific language for them. That's not how it works. Trying to communicate is extremely important. So for children, their entitlements are to early intervention, which means that once a disability has been detected, they should be given the help, the therapy, and other things that they need, conveniences and comforts and facilities to overcome the disability or to manage the disability or to cope with the disability to the best of their abilities. Equal treatment, no treating them as inferior or superior. Family members and family affection is very important. Friends, social interaction, language, expression, play, education, travel and transportation. Now you have a park which is completely accessible. But how will you get there? If you have a child on a wheelchair, how are you going to get the child to enter the car? Do you have the facilities to take a child from point A to point B? Right? So these are the things that we have to actually focus on. And information, all the information that you and I have got in the form of education, etc., should also be available to a child with a disability so that the child becomes intelligent. You want an intelligent child, the child has to have all of these facilities available. Mingling with each other, making friends. Now, youth. The picture that you see here are both from our events where we have a training program for students who are here visually challenged. They're all having a conversation after having learned the basics of computers. You all have smartphones and you all have new computers. Go to settings, go to accessibility or to disability related facilities, disability related apps, etc., that you have available on your phones. For example, if I look at my settings and if I go down, it will say accessibility. Go to that and see everything that is available. When you are on WhatsApp, if you're sending out voice messages, that actual facility has been provided for people who cannot read or write, maybe not see. So those who are not able to spell, those who are not able to read or write, they can record their voices and send them across to people. Your FaceTime that you're doing, your video calls that you're doing were actually meant for people who cannot speak. If they're even able to use sign language now and have conversations on FaceTime and on WhatsApp. So a lot of things, for example, you expand the pictures and see for details. Ki mere jhumke dikh rahe hain ki nahi? Are they able to see my new tie or not? The print on my tie, is it visible? Is it visible that my shirt is crumpled today? Or if you're trying to open and look at the fonts, make it bigger and smaller, it is actually meant for people with visual challenges who are not able to read fine print, older people. But you are using the same thing also. So many things that are, your spell check is for people with dyslexia. So many things that are on your phone and on your computer were actually created for people with disabilities, but you and I are making full use of them now. The other picture is from a job fair that we conducted for persons with disabilities. So typically youth, what are youth thinking of? They're thinking of education, skills, family again, and social interaction, entertainment, recreation, going to a park, going to a beach. Are the beaches accessible for them? Are the heritage sites accessible to them? Employment, travel and transportation, hobbies and information, right? So they need empowerment. We don't mind getting a gift or two or getting something free from somewhere, but we don't want that all the time. We should be able to afford what everybody else is able to afford. So you have to empower them and not constantly depend on charity to help them out. Because once you keep doing charity, it leads to laziness. If I'm going to keep giving you, making you pass over and over and over again, you're not going to study anymore. So you have to be empowered to study better, given all the facilities that you need, and to make sure that you do the best that you can. It also leads to a sense of entitlement. Sada ha kithe rakh. And what about sadi zimmedari? Nobody remembers. Along with your rights, law teaches us that every right has an equal responsibility. That has to be taught to every human being. It's not just in law. It is the law of the universe. Everything that you do also has an impact on the universe and on your life. So there has to be responsibility with every right that you have. So adults and middle age, what are we looking at? We're looking at employment, income, interaction, family, recreation, travel and transport, insurance and information. All of this has to be available to people in their adult lives, and senior citizens are the last, of course. What do most senior citizens want? We want barrier-free spaces. It should not be that I can't go there because I'm too old. I don't want to come. Typically, grandparents will say, you carry on, we are not coming. Why? Because there is no place, there are too many barriers. I can't use the toilet. There are no toilets there. There are no paths that I have to climb. There are too many steps. I don't want to come. You carry on. So social and familial interaction also gets impacted with age. Independent living gets impacted with age. We are constantly worried about our grandparents and parents. Where will they live? How will they manage? Recreation, what will they do to keep themselves busy? Travel and transportation, mostly we don't take our people along with us on trains, older people along with us on trains or buses, because we feel it is too much for them. They won't be able to get in or get out. Look at our railway stations, mostly not accessible for people with disabilities. Insurance is only now come in, like I told you, and healthcare services. These are the things that older people have a right to and should have an equal opportunity to. What gets impacted when these facilities are taken away? Number one, it impacts your dignity. If you constantly have to ask somebody for support, or you constantly have to ask somebody for help, It impacts your dignity. It impacts your self-respect, your independence, your choice. If somebody is buying you something, you can't dictate what it is. So somebody gives you a blue shirt and you don't want blue, you prefer green. You're not paying for it. So once or twice you may say, hey, I prefer green. Can you buy me a green shirt? But if you're not paying for it, eventually you lose your choice, which restaurant to go to. What would you like to eat? A person who can't read, or a person who is blind, needs somebody else to read out the menu card for them. Now, of course, with the QR code, etc., they're able to read it on their smartphones, which is such a big change. Sometimes when somebody tells you there are 10 different types of dosa, by the time they started sadha dosa and masala dosa to cheese dosa, by the time you come to cheese dosa, you've forgotten what was the first one. But you can go back and read the menu. Blind people weren't able to do that earlier. Now they can because of the QR code, and they're able to read it on their phones, the menus, right? Ordering things. When you only have a choice when you have independence. If you're a dependent, your choice is taken away. You can't go and tell your parents, get me an iPhone 14. Your parents will turn around and tell you, when you start earning, you buy it. Same thing is told to persons with disabilities from all age groups, right? Trust is lost because they don't believe us anymore, that we will take care of them or that we are interested in their lives. Love and relationships are also impacted, okay? So this is basically what I wanted to tell you are the responsibilities, and you as an equal opportunity cell have to look at the very outset. As people, individuals, we have to be aware of the trends of accessibility worldwide. Now you are aware of all the 21 disabilities that are acknowledged by the government of India. In order to make recommendations, awareness is very important. If you are not aware, if you're ignorant, it is better that you educate yourself before you start giving recommendations and start representing persons with disabilities or even yourself. Also to use the facilities that are provided to you very responsibly. It is only when you can do all of this that we can actually look at change coming from individuals. Municipal corporations cannot get away with passing these designs of buildings, new buildings and retrofittings that are not accessible or not according to standards. They have to keep abreast in terms of accessibility. They have to ensure that public places, educational institutes such as yours are all accessible to people with disabilities. They have to understand universal design, and they have to ensure that all public events have sign language interpreters. Today we have this on YouTube, and therefore it is imperative that you all turn on the closed captioning when you put the video up eventually, and to ensure that all public places are held in public events are held in accessible spaces only. So whenever you have your seminars, please get in touch. We have to make sure that the venue that we choose is accessible for people with different disabilities. So I'm sort of done with my presentations. I would like for you to ask if there are any questions at all on your minds. Dr. Ujjwala?
Yes, ma'am. I really wanted to know a concern for our Indian system, madam. Like in our Indian system, we have really developed. We are working hard, as you said. We are doing many things, and we are having so many facilities. But still, I believe, madam, the mindset of everyone has to be changed towards these people.
Yes.
And when these people move in public, or rather they are to be, gelling with the public, if the mindset is not apt, things may be really harsh on them, and then they get back into cocoons, right? So then what is it like? Are we thinking in terms of any policy or any laws to be made as of rights for these people? Because we have rights, we know the laws also. But is there anything special or anything very well thought of on your
Yes,
part, on
absolutely.
your
Absolutely. So we have the UNCRPD, which we have all signed, right? Rights of Persons with Disabilities. India is a signatory to that. And under the Accessible India campaign, Mr. Narendra Modi has brought in a lot of changes in policies also. Even today, there is a festival being held in Goa, which is called a Purple Fest, where people with different disabilities are participating. There are about 5,000 delegates. I'm not in India, unfortunately, so I'm not able to attend. I was invited, but I couldn't go. The point is that there is a sea change in attitudes in India and in the understanding of disabilities since 2016. I began in 2007, actually, not in 2009. I registered Ekansh in 2009, but I had begun work in 2007, and I had been volunteering with NGOs much before that for people with disabilities. There was hardly any awareness. The flip side of it is that people who are not even educated in disabilities are coming into the field from even the disability community. People with disabilities who are not aware of their rights are talking about rights of person with disability. You know what I mean? So you are Dr. Ujjwala Bendale, you are a lady, but I can't represent you because your life story is different than mine. As a woman, I can speak for you in general as a woman that women have rights. But what are the specific rights in your life that have been impacted, or what are your needs is something that I cannot speak on behalf of you. Every individual has to speak for himself or herself, which is why Ekansh Trust looks at empowering persons with disabilities so that they are able to speak on their own behalf better. They have to understand accessibility and standards also, because you and I may have different needs, but people may not cater to our individual needs. There will be a general set of facilities that are provided for you and me. If there is anything specific that you and I need, we will have to look at whether it is reasonable or not, and it will be provided under reasonable accommodation is what across the globe people talk about. Suddenly, if you have to break down a heritage building and start constructing a ramp, it may not be possible. But what retrofitting can you do in order to make that place accessible? Even Bharatiya Vidyapeeth building, if you have to break down something, that will take a longer time. Are you able to retrofit something over there, like an elevator or something, so that you can get a person on a wheelchair to third or fourth floor? That is important. Yes, there are policies. There is a question in text. Are there any policies? Yes, the government has made several policies to make sure that persons with disabilities are included. You will find them online. You can go to the Social Welfare Department website and you can check on all the facilities that are available for persons with disabilities. There is also an online form, a complaint form that can be filled out, or a requisition form that can be filled out if a person with a disability needs anything. There is something called a UDID card, which is a unique disability ID card that every person with a disability must have. Unfortunate part is the information has not reached everybody. What I would like to do with you, if this is possible as somebody, as a partner on your equal opportunity cell, is to make sure that every family comes to know that all of these disabilities are acknowledged by the government of India, and that if you have a new patient with Parkinson's, that person is given a disability card. The first question that everybody asks us is, कितने लोग हैं जो blind हैं इंडिया में? अब गिनती कहाँ से आएगी? A person has to be diagnosed. A person has to become aware that they are having a visual impairment. It could be because of cataract. It could be because of injury. It could be because of old age. But as visual impairment occurs, I should be aware that I have a visual impairment. I must get a diagnosis and I must get a card. That is when India will know that there is one more person with visual impairment on the list. Most people do not have their disability cards. In Pune, we have a team of persons with disabilities sitting at Aundh Hospital. Every day, there are people who approach them to get their disability card. Abhi tak hua nahi. So we do not have a proper number. The last census was held in 2011. We are in 22. Abhi tak hua nahi. Also, people are ashamed of disabilities because, like Dr. Ujjwala said, there is such an attitudinal problem that would say that my child has a disability looks like a stigma, and people don't admit to disabilities. This has to go away. And for that, maybe we can partner in future for a lot of awareness programs for the general public to say that there is no stigma. Earlier, it was like, agar ladki hui to stigma tha. And now look at the number of girls on this platform right now. We are heading countries, we are going to, we have created a spacecraft. Look at the things that women are doing. There will be a time when persons with disabilities are also able to partner us to do all of these things. But for that, first, the stigma of having a disability has to be taken away. What is the impact of disability? What is that question, please? Can somebody read it out? On right to privacy. Oh, it's immense.
Yes, ma'am. It's me. I'm asking the question, what is the impact of disability on right to privacy?
It is immense. Like when we talked about choice, the choice of privacy is not there. Like I told you, you're not able to bolt the door to your bathroom. You have to tell a person with a disability, even the clothing. We have, I wish I had more than 1 hour. I wish I wasn't traveling. I wish I was back home and I had 2 hours with you. Even clothing is such a big problem. As you get older, you find that you're not able to pull up the zip on the back of you're not able to pull up your hoodie because you have shoulder pain. You're not able to zip up. You're not able to bend down. And of course, in Maharashtra and everywhere else, we have those nada wala pajamas. You're not able to tie the nada because your hands are trembling. Privacy is supremely hit when a person is bedridden, being given a bath. Imagine a 20-year-old person being given a bath. Again, talking about stigmas and talking about how we don't talk about the most basic things. Teenagers with disability who have the same sexual urges as any other teenager, they have absolutely no sense. They have absolutely no privacy at all. They are not even allowed to express what they are feeling. They don't know what they are feeling because it is not even explained to them. Somehow people with disability are treated as asexual beings. They are not. They have the same urges. They have the same needs, right? So yes, privacy is greatly hit in every aspect, beginning from your bathing, your hygiene, to your to sexual needs, to physical needs, to mental needs. Are you even able to express everything that you want? Are you able to keep back, withhold information that you don't want to share? Many things are impacted because of disabilities. So eventually, we could probably sort of list out all the things that people with disability have a right to and that are impacted, not just because of the disability itself, but because of the attitude of people around them. Most people with disability will tell you one thing, that the disability impacts them much less than the attitude of people around, than the lack of accessibility, than the lack of awareness around them. What impacts them greatly is our ignorance. That is why the Ekansh logo says awareness, acceptance, sensitization, and then inclusion. You don't include and then now figure out, oh, now what do I do with this person? No. So you begin with awareness, becoming fully aware. Today, you are aware of 21 disabilities. Read about the impact that they can have. Accept it. Accept your shortcomings and the shortcomings maybe of the persons with the disability. Awareness, acceptance, sensitization, become sensitive, accessibility, and then inclusion. Yes, these guidelines are available on UGC website. They have come up with guidelines for persons with disabilities. Guidelines are available online. You can also look at the American Disability Act, which is the ADA, which is what many other countries have followed. The impact and the implications may be different in America, but typically that is a wonderful guide for all of us to read, the American system. There are...
I think...
Sorry?
Hello, ma'am. Can I ask
Urjula.
a question? Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to add to it that sometimes, the challenges which we are talking about, they come within the person who is a disabled himself or herself. So where the challenges are within the person, how do we tackle with these challenges?
By being open about it, Ujjwala, by talking about, we see, I don't know what your age is, but from your voice, I'm guessing that you are in your 30s maybe or more.
No, ma'am, I'm 56.
Great. So you're closer to my age. So we know,
Yeah.
then I can definitely say that we never talked about our periods. We never told the men that we can't, we never told our PT teacher, sir, aaj main bhagungi nahi, kyunki mere periods hain. Did we tell? No, we went and ran.
Even the chat she did.
In that condition, we went and ran. Was our privacy not hit?
She did
Of
it,
course,
she didn't she acknowledge it, sir.
By Vanjana ji, can you please, Vanaja ji, can you kindly switch off your mic? The point I'm trying to make here is that we don't talk about things. We have to stop being ashamed of the wrong things. I cannot run on the third day of my period. I'm sorry. I cannot participate in this excursion because I have my period. I'm sorry. There should be no marks cut for that. I cannot turn up at office because I have cramps, severe cramping. I should become honest. When will I become honest about using it as an excuse when there is no stigma attached to it anymore? We have to remove the stigmas attached to facts. I am a divorcee. It is a fact. I am a widow. It is a fact. I am a person with a disability. It is a fact. I am a woman on my period. It is a fact. Why are we afraid of facts and stigmatizing facts? I am a man who's infertile. It is a fact. I have a problem. I am a man who likes to cry. I am a very emotional man. I am a transgender. Why are these things so very stigmatized? And why are things that are wrong? The fact that we don't give these rights, the fact that we are ashamed, why are these facts encouraged, these things encouraged, and not the expression of what is natural and what is real? So, Ujjwala ji, the first step that Ekansh takes is talking about disability. We have storybooks for children, where every story has a person with a disability. Just stories, not that the person with a disability is a hero. Regular stories. A person with a disability is not a hero. He's just another person trying to live his life like you and me. We all have our struggles. We have coloring pages where there are persons with disabilities in different scenes. What do we do with those coloring pages? We take them to schools and colleges Get children and young people to color those pictures and create stories around those pictures. We have storytelling competitions, story writing competitions, mention disabilities. It is not a curse. It should not be stigmatized. The worst thing that has happened to disabilities is the stigmas that we have attached to disability. Bolne mein darte hain hum. What is the fear? It is a matter of fact. I can't see. So when I first had my conference, I asked a person who was blind, what should I call you? Should I call you visually impaired or a person with low vision? He said, yeah, call me blind, but treat me with respect. Treat me as an individual. When you're not able to do that, words सारे बहुत sugary हैं. Differently abled क्या होता है? Can I breathe with my ears? Then I'm differently abled. If I'm using a wheelchair, I'm not differently abled. If I'm using Braille to read, I'm not differently abled. I have no choice, so I'm using Braille. I can't see, so I'm using Braille. I am blind. Use the word blind. It is okay, but you should use it in the right tone, not to discriminate, but to facilitate. If I tell you that I'm deaf, you will give me a sign language interpreter. But if I tell you I'm differently abled, what are you going to give me? You don't know.
Can we use the word special ability rather than
No, there is no special ability, Ujjwala. Using a wheelchair is not a special ability, my dear. Using hearing aid is not a special ability. It is a coping mechanism. If I hurt my right hand, I will use my left hand. It is not a special ability. If I'm able to use my right hand, but I'm still developing the use of my left hand, then it is a special ability. I'm using my left hand because I can't use my right hand. It is not a special ability. If I'm using a white cane, how is it a special ability? If I'm using sign language to speak to you because I cannot hear, it is not a special ability. I can use sign language. For me, it is an extra ability. But for a person who is deaf, using sign language, it is natural. It is a coping mechanism. He needs to communicate with you. How does that become a special ability? You get what I'm saying? These are terms that able-bodied people are using to sugarcoat their attitudinal problems.
Absolutely. The entire human rights jurisprudence talks about that. Don't use the terminology disabled, but use the word special.
You must use the word disabled. I can't walk. What are you going to call it? Special ability. मुझे बगी चाहिए एयरपोर्ट में, मैं क्या बोलूं? मुझे स्पेशल एबिलिटी है इसलिए मुझे बगी दो. वो बोलेगा आप स्विंग करते हुए जाइए, आपको स्पेशल एबिलिटी है. तो आई कांट वॉक, यू हैव टू गिव मी अ बगी. You have to mention, see, you can begin your biodata saying I am specially abled, but I will ask you ना कि आपको क्या चाहिए. तो आप मुझे बोलोगे ब्रेल चाहिए, फिर आपको बताना पड़ेगा मुझे कि आप ब्लाइंड हो. Why are you beating around the bush? Just say blind in the beginning. If there is no stigma attached to the word, you will use that word more often. The problem is the stigma that we are attaching. Orphan, are bichara. He is an orphan. He's lost his parents. His parents have abandoned him. He is an orphan. Deal with it and empower that child to become a wonderful human being. If you keep going around saying not orphan, what other word shall we use? There was a time when retarded word was not used. We are not supposed to use the word retarded. What is the meaning of the word retarded? Slow. Retard. The person's growth was retarded, meaning the growth was slow. Slow learner was then allowed. Retard mat bolo, slow learner bolo. Abhi wo bhi allowed nahi hai, intellectual disability bolo. Arey, make up your minds. Words have no power unless you put power into those words. Remove that stigma from the word, and that word is just a word to explain. If you say, oh, that person is blind, immediately you will know, oh, he may need braille, he may need help to cross the road, he may need tactile paving. This is what that person will need. When you say the person is deaf, immediately you will know what that person needs and how to help. But if you don't tell, how are you going to know what that person needs? छुपाने से कुछ बनता नहीं है, बोलने से बनता है. Like women are now so much assistance. When you go abroad, I used to see earlier, about 20 years ago also, when I used to travel, you go into women's toilet, there were sanitary pads available, there were tampons available. In the men's and women's washrooms abroad forever, diaper changing tables were available for little babies. Both the men's washroom and the women's washroom. Everything. And now you have unisex toilets where people who are transgender and don't, go with the binary, they can also enter and they can use the toilets. Do you know how many transgender people struggled during COVID? Because they didn't know whether to be admitted in the female ward in the hospitals or in the male wards. Because when they would enter the toilets meant for women, they were looked at differently. They were not allowed to enter the toilets meant for men. Do you see what discrimination does? So when everything is made with universal design in mind, the right to life is given back to you. This is all part of living. With the right to life encompasses every other right. My living is impacted by this. First thing in the morning, last thing in the evening, toilets not available. Clothes that I need because I have a disability, not available. Food, choices of food, not available. I have a gluten allergy, I have something else, not available. Everything depends on availability and on universal design to be able to cater to as many people as possible. Even your law textbooks, how can you make them accessible for somebody who's deaf? How can you make them accessible for someone with a reading disability? How can you make them accessible for somebody who's blind? For somebody who can't understand all the terms, how can you simplify things for them? Simplify, simplify. We are just complicating and complicating by having separate rights for everybody. I think we've gone beyond time.
I think I have watched a very great movie in 2022. It's named Coda. Coda won the Academy Award, and I can still remember that it's a movie about a deaf family wherein only one girl is able to speak and communicate the word to the family. So I think
there are many people. I will introduce you to people.
Yeah.
Dr. Aman, I will introduce you to a lot of people like that, whom we can introduce to our classes also.
Yes. No, I could really see the plight of such people, where while others are able to enjoy the music, though they're sitting in the concert, they could not feel anything. And when the audience used to start clapping, then these people used to clap, right? So it's
okay. Let me teach you some sign language today, then, very quickly before we finish. Shall we do that, Dr. Aman?
Sure.
Okay, so as many people as possible, please put on your cameras. I need to see all of you to see whether you're following the sign language or not. Very quickly, just 5 minutes. And I have to check out of the hotel that I'm in now, and we're going to another city. So I'll have to take your leave. But quickly, can I just have all of you switch on your cameras? As many people as possible, please. Can you please switch on your cameras for just 2 minutes? Has anyone switched it on? Okay, I see 1 or 2 people. That's okay. So the way we say good morning in sign language is good. Can you all see this? Can you all repeat with me, Dr. Raman? Good morning.
Good morning.
The flower blooms in the morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. The sun is shining brightly on your head. Good afternoon. Even in the rains, you do the same thing. Good afternoon. Good evening. The flower doesn't close fully. Good evening. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. That was awesome.
This is midnight. This is how you clap for people who are hearing impaired, because they can't hear your claps. You clap like this for them. And this is how you say thank you. Thank you from your chin. Okay. So thank you everybody for having me. And I hope that this has been a good session for you as much as it has been for me. Thank you.
It has been a great session, and we certainly hope that in future we would have many more seminars, and of course in person. And the Equal Opportunity Center could work hard for the disabled, that we promise. And this center we have established not just for the namesake, but we are really gonna work towards the rights of the disabled. And we hope that we partner in many more ventures in future.
Absolutely.
So,
happy to.
So thank you, madam. Thank you. So I request Vandita to please extend a word of thanks quickly, because madam has to go.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this insightful and informative session. I, Vandita Rastogi, deem it as a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable event. Let us first of all start by giving glory and reverence to the Almighty for making the event a resounding success. First and foremost, we thank our special guest, Ms. Anita Iyer Narayan, for her time and consideration of this event. We are grateful to Dr. Ujjwala Bendale, Dean and in-charge principal, for her words of encouragement. Her guidance has always encouraged us. We thank her for her kindness, interest, hospitality, and continued support. We thank our well-wisher and our faculty coordinator, Dr. Raman Mishra, for his vision, commitment, and confidence in his students. We are grateful to the technical staff for assisting us throughout this event. Last but not the least, we thank you, our friends and faculty, for your cooperation in making this event an emphatic success. Finally, we leave you to resonate with this inspiring quote by Abraham Lincoln. He said, and I quote, "Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle." Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, ma'am.